It's now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Ignacio Becerra-Licha, President of the Class of 2013. Dr. Becerra-Licha, come to the podium.
Thank you, Dean Shapiro. I stand before you today quite humbled. You see, I was elected last year on one promise which I will hopefully deliver today. To deliver a speech that will, and I quote, make all of you lose control of your bowels and bladder. Hopefully not all of you, otherwise I might not ever be invited back. A few weeks ago I asked Dean Shapiro for some advice on what to talk about. He smiled at me, turned in towards me and took a deep breath. I eagerly awaited his pearls of wisdom and expected to hear something along the lines of, pretend that everyone in the room is naked. Instead, he told me the following: say whatever you want, because no one will remember it in a year anyway. I then looked at some previous speeches for inspiration and quickly realized I could not use the following gems. We, the class of 2005, are very fortunate to be sitting here this afternoon. We were wowed by the lavish comfort of Moore Auditorium. That must have been from the year it was first built. And finally, when we came to Washington University, the internet did not exist. Believe it or not, that was from the class of 1997. After reading a few of these speeches, I decided to do this from scratch. What follows are some of the highlights from the past 4, 5, or even 11 years at WashU. So I hope you enjoy this journey. We arrived in St. Louis in August of 2009. It was hot. I don't know quite what to compare it to, but if you'd given me the option of being outside or stick my head inside an oven preset to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, I probably would have picked the latter. My hat goes off to you, Vivek, for wearing a full suit. Drs. Ross and Yokoyama donned our shiny white coats in front of our proud parents and family, while Dr. Storch gave us an inspiring speech at the white coat ceremony to start off our medical careers. We had a long orientation. A lot of people spoke to us, but the only thing anyone actually remembered was not to sit in the front of the auditorium, because when someone behind you kicks over their coffee cup, the coffee runs downhill and gets all over your stuff. People still sat in the front, and coffee still got over all their stuff. We started meeting each other and had the exact same conversation about 200 times that would lay the foundation for our future interactions in medicine. Where'd you go to school? Oh really, did you know so-and-so? But of course, we never did. The Conroys, Uncle Bob, Stan the Man, Dr. Pipe, Dr. Bridgman, Dr. Dutcher, Dr. Rothbaum, and others provided our intro to medicine. We liked school, at first anyway. After the first few days of histology, we quickly learned who was colorblind because they couldn't see the green arrow under the microscope that their partner was using. Anatomy, in particular, made us feel like we were doing something special. We were told to flex our pelvic floor muscles on a daily basis, even in front of people. In fact, Dr. Phillips Conroy, we're proud to know that I'm doing them right now. We also bonded with our dissecting groups and bodies. Some of us bonded more than others, finding a life partner within our group. Cough, cough, carry Aaron. The upperclassmen swore to us that we didn't have to study, ever, and somehow we were actually surprised to discover they were full of it. We had tons of lectures, PowerPoints, applicants, and pizza. I'll never eat an applicant's pizza dinner again, we swore until finally the applicants stopped coming. After spring break exams, no one really knows what happened in our time during neuroblock. Some classmates recall there was a class show, and then all of a sudden it was summertime. Some of us did research, some did primary care, and while others trotted the globe. But the smartest of us were the ones who didn't do anything and enjoyed their last summer off. We had a blast and came back in August, excited and nervous for second year. It was hot. This time we were stressed before we even started. And of course we told the first years not to study. Dr. Wren scared the living daylights out of us when she raised the bar by reciting an entire history and physical from memory and telling us that we would do the same by the end of the year. In September, we closed up our apartments and moved into the study carrels, libraries, and local coffee shops with our laptops, books, and pillows and headphones. When we came out, it was Christmas, and apparently it had gotten cold. We went home and told everybody that second year was the hardest, most god-awfully painful horror we had ever experienced in our lives. They say they knew exactly what we were talking about. They had no idea what we were talking about. We somehow survived to May. Again, some of my peers think there was a class show involved, but no one really remembers. All I remember was getting smacked in the face by the boards. We studied for them more intensely than we ever studied for anything else in our lives. We took them and told everyone on Facebook that it was the hardest, most god-awfully painful hard we'd ever experienced in our lives. They said they knew exactly what we meant and liked our statuses. They had no idea what we were talking about. After an hour and a half of vacation, we dove headfirst into the third year. Finally, we'd be taking care of patients, or at least they let us pretend. When we started out, we had no idea what we were doing. We felt out of place and overwhelmed. We worked harder than we ever had in our lives, staying up all night every few nights. We swore to our friends that this was, in fact, without question, the hardest, most god-awfully painful hard we'd ever experienced in our lives. They told us to shut up because they were really sick of hearing us complain. And then they stopped liking our status on Facebook. The year was a blur. We rounded, retracted, consulted, and presented. We worked up, cleaned up, looked up, sewed up, and screwed up quite a bit. We were on call, short call, post call, pre-call, and praise be to outpatient rotations, no call, no weekends. The work was difficult, but the camaraderie was really special. We pulled each other through, and by the end of the year, we realized we still had no idea what in the world we were doing. We felt dumb and overwhelmed. And then, something amazing happened. All of a sudden, overnight, we were no longer at the bottom of the totem pole. Nurses and other healthcare workers started acknowledging our existence. What was it at the beginning of June that was so different than at the end of June? Fourth year was here. We were given real responsibilities. We were actually in charge of our patients' care. The third years looked at us for help. And while most of us can't say exactly when or how it happened, we realized that somewhere along the way we'd actually become competent. We realized how amazingly far we'd come in 3 years, and the feeling was grand. It was so grand, in fact, that we spent the next 9 months relaxing, traveling, and forgetting the knowledge and skills we had managed to acquire over 4 years. Fourth year has been a beautiful thing, and it has flown by. And finally, I'm proud to say that we had our best class show ever. We really blew it together at the last minute and had some heroic performances, from Michael Jackson impersonations to reliving some memories from our first years of medical school. So now, here we are, about to become doctors. Though Dean Whalen says that we look competent, I know that for a fact that we're all a little bit nervous, and we're still not sure if we really know enough to be called doctors. And it's still really hot, especially in this gown. Or at least I hoped it would be when I wrote that catchy line a couple of days ago. Our medical journey is over, and it's time for us to move on to the next phase of our careers. I would like to conclude by thanking some important players who made this day possible for each of us graduating here today. And Dean Whalen and many others have thanked you today, but I would like to thank our families and friends from the class of 2013. You've guided us and made sacrifices for us throughout our many years of education. You've endured our type A personalities, our crazy schedules, and all the new terrible medical jokes we learned. I bet all of you are as excited as we are, especially since we're about to come off your payrolls. Thank you for loving and supporting us. Next, to our teachers. To the many faculty, allied healthcare workers, residents, and staff members we've come to know and love, you've always taken the time to teach us and help us in any way possible. Thank you for your invaluable contributions to our education. Next, to our patients. I'd be remiss if we didn't thank them for allowing us to practice medicine. Without them, our education would be incomplete. They are why we woke up early to pre-round, why we went home each day and read as much as we could about what ailed them, and why today we have earned our medical degrees. So thank you to our patients for your cooperation, your understanding, and your smiles. Finally, I would like to thank the class of 2013. It has truly been a privilege to get to know all of you these past 4 years. I sincerely hope we'll keep in touch. I appreciate all the free dinners that this position has given me over the course of the year. I wish all of you the very best of luck in your future endeavors, and I hope that our paths will cross again soon. And I better see all of you at the 5-year reunion. Remember guys, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And don't forget to have fun during the residency years. Thanks.
Thank you, Ignacio, for some heartfelt remarks that clearly resonate with all your classmates. 28 years ago, the class of 1984 decided to take a professional oath and chose a modified version of the 1948 Declaration of Geneva. This year, we've asked Dr. Ed Dodson, the Associate Vice Chancellor and Associate Dean for Admissions, to lead the class in this oath.